Good morning, here is Kramer's Corner with the daily technical updates. And as usual, we start with S&P 500. What was interesting was that it actually did trade below the 44.30 support level here, minor support level. And it now seems to be quite important for bulls and bears. They managed to close back above, so we still haven't confirmed the downtrend. But if we do close below, then there should be further downside. We still have bearish or negative sentiment on the RSI. Similar picture on Nasdaq 100, obviously also closed back above 15,138. So that is a key support, and also just touching the cloud here. Next couple of days could be decisive, maybe even tonight or tomorrow. So that's going to be really interesting for US equities. On the DAX index, just hovering around this falling trend line here, still caught in this range. So in the overall picture, fairly boring. AX 25 still in this range here, with a little bit of a downside. 730 is still key support area for further downside. I do believe it will happen within a week or two, where we have the 55 and the 100 moving average coming down here. So a move down to around 716 is in the cards. The Belgian markets are now back above 36.96, so it's really hovering around here. So the key thing to look out for, will it actually close above a 60 threshold or not? That would be key for the Belgian market in terms of being bullish or bearish. CAC 40, not really much doing much, still in a bearish trend after failing to close above 74,405. Moving on to FX, euro dollar can't really get upside correction momentum, or it can't really break below 106.35. That is the really key strong support on all fronts, medium term and short term. It is a very strong support, and I still believe we will see a correction up to around 107.60, possibly up to just below the 200 moving average. I think it's debatable whether it can actually correct all the way up to 38. To retracement. I'm not quite sure about that, but let's see here in the next couple of days if it can get back above the peak here at 107.70. Then maybe it can get a little bit further upside momentum. But medium term, I think we will have another test at the 106.35 support level. Euro sterling, testing the falling trend line a couple of times, and this morning seems really taking off. So let's see if it can follow through during the day. 86.70, around that level we have some resistance, but I think we will see a move up to around 87 here on euro sterling, possibly higher. You can check out the written report I did Monday. All the levels are in there, and this descending triangle-like pattern is unfolding, and if it does, well, then there is room up to around 88 plus. So that's something to keep an eye on. If it slides back to close back below the falling trend line, then this pattern here could possibly be busted. But look at the 55 moving average starting to turn around, actually in an uptrend now. So I think we will see higher levels on the euro sterling. Cable 123, key support level to look out for, and I think we'll test it here maybe today, later today or tomorrow, before we see a bounce. But really key 123, as we can also see here on the weekly on the right side here, key support level on cable. Finally, it seems like dollar yen is breaking its range above 147.80, 90 level, and a move up to 150 possibly is in the cards. If we can get a close above the falling trend line here on the RSI, then I think we will see even move higher in dollar yen towards the 150 level. Euro yen Still range bound, but starting to move slowly towards the upper range, 159.75. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye also on the falling trend line here on the RSI. If it breaks above that one and above the 60 threshold, then I think regardless of we are there or not, we will break above the resistance level there. Aussie yen, very close to test resistance at 95.85 here the next couple of days in a bullish uptrend, both on the indicators and on the pair itself. I think it will be broken, maybe not at the first attempt, but I think it will be broken eventually, and we will see a higher Aussie yen level. And when we are talking about Aussies, can't really get its upside momentum here. It's still struggling a little bit. So let's see what happen here. Will happen here the next couple of days. There's strong resistance at 65.20, 25 level that should be observed, but it can't really get its act together and move higher. Maybe we'll slide lower towards the 63, 60, 70 level. Dollar index 104.40. To look out for. If it starts breaking below that, then I think we'll see a correction down to around 103, and we can actually do this. Let me just add this this one here just to give it a guidance. So there should be room to around 103 and a quarter, but I'm not quite sure we will drop that low on the dollar index before moving higher, so probably here around 108. There's still room short-term up to 105.80. Moving on to golds, still range bound here between 1900 and 1950. Can't really get upside momentum. We also have the 100 moving average coming down, kind of putting a lid on it, and we have the 200 coming. So I still think we will see gold being range bound in this area here for quite some time. Silver also in this lot of wide range here, trading around the 23 and a half without much direction. But if we look at the 100 moving average coming down, we have the 55 that is flat, and we have the 200 also flat. So I don't think we will see much movement in the silver on the short term. It really needs to find out which way it's going to go. Looking at the weekly, we can see how here we have the lower rising trend line giving some support, and we should move higher in coming weeks. We also have positive RSI because it hasn't broken below 40 level, so the underlying sentiment is up. We have the 100 moving average basically flat, but we have the 55 moving up. We have the 200 also still moving up, so the underlying positive tone is there. Copper, not really much to say. 370, 382. It needs to break that range. And looking at the weekly, again, we have this triangle-like pattern. It needs to break out for direction. Really hard to say. We also have the 200 moving average coming, adding some support. We have the 100 kind of putting a lid on it, and then we have the 55 more or less moving sideways. Moving on to the energy market. And now it seems like we are getting this correction I've been talking about for a couple of days, that the oil market was quite stretched. We just need a top in place, and now we have it at least short term. We have Brent here forming an inverted hammer and a negative candle as it seems today. We should get a correction to at least down to the 38.2 retracement at 19.62. Possibly dipping lower, but let's talk about that later. But it could dip down to around 80 level here. The WTI also, it actually hit with an overshoot at just a few cents above the strong resistance. You can see here 93.48, and now we have a correction ongoing, and at least down to the 38 retracement at 87.58, but could dip down to around 84, 83.70, which is the 618 correction or retracement here before moving higher. We are in a bullish trend. There's no divergence on a daily or on weekly charts, so we should be able to move higher, but we do need a correction to just find a little bit of ground. On the US Treasuries, we had the highest close on US 10-year yields in a decade, closing at 435. It is still in an uptrend. RSI is still showing bullish sentiment, so there's no divergence. Well, there's building up divergence now, but it should have momentum up to 448 at least here in the coming weeks. And just to throw in the mix, the 2-year also closed higher yesterday, so yields are definitely on the rise, and the 30-year as well. All right, that's all for today. Talk to you again tomorrow, and happy trading.